Okay. Representing the Oreos, Don Dímelo. What up, brother? Thank you for joining the live stream. Anyway, today's a different one. Today we have guests here. That's why there's no phone calls, but that's all good because we are doing a lot of BS today. But before that, quote of the day: do not fear failure, but rather fear not trying. Don't forget, never not try. But the quote again: do not fear failure, but rather fear not trying, by Roy T. Bennett. And with that, we're going to start the show, my guys. Good morning. Welcome again to episode 13 of SCG in the morning. King, good morning. Mary, good morning. And today we're going to mock it up. Guys, tomorrow, I can't believe it, tomorrow. We got draft tomorrow. Anyway, I have my friends here from the BS Sports Land, and that's not their channel. I'll let them introduce themselves. First, the biggest BS of all, Mr. Scott.
You had to give me that introduction, didn't you?
Oh, you know it. You know it.
Always giving me the riffs in fun. But yeah, so at Scott BLBS is where you can find me on Twitter. The show Birdland BS. You know Fred and I. If you don't, got to come check us out. Search us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, at Birdland BS on all those places.
And the other BS, or not as much BS, a little bit. He tones the BS meter down. But here it is, my boy Fred.
What's up, everybody? Appreciate you having me on SCG in the morning. I like the whole morning show theme, man. It's pretty cool. Appreciate it. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at FredBLBS, as you see down below. As Scott said, we do a Maryland sports podcast every Tuesday, 7:30. Follow us on Twitter at BirdlandBS. You can follow us on Facebook, YouTube, your app of choice, man. Everything's BirdlandBS.
I would say of all of us tubers, all of us, that includes me, my boy Nubo, Coach, my guy in Raven. Mm-hmm. These two dudes have the most professional setup of all. So if you like well-made content, we all make good content. This is not dismissing the others. I'm including myself in this. They're just quality. These guys elevate their quality. And also, you can find them wherever. If you hate YouTube and you like Facebook, boom, that's BS in there. If you like Twitter, there's BS in there. You can find them all over the place. You can check my guys up. They're awesome. They're awesome. And also, Fred, you have, for the ones that like college and follow Maryland, Fred also has a Maryland podcast. You can go check it out. Shell and Tell. I was close enough. Anyway, Marcus, Bruno, Jay, Camouflage, King, Mary, everybody, Don Dímelo, thank you for joining that morning show. Anyway, so, guys, we're going to do a little discussion. If you have questions, please, I know the guys are monitoring the chat. You can put it there. If you haven't followed the Twitter, it's there on the screen. It's also in the handle below. And then all their podcasts and all their social media and all their channels are there. So go ahead and subscribe and follow. But I want to do a conversation that I was listening to my guy's show last night. And there was a conversation that came up in Joe Newell's channel last Wednesday. And it came up in, the Birdland BS show last night. And it's a running back. Should we draft a running back first or second round? Let's include first or second round. So I'll let Fred start and then Scott. Go ahead, man.
All right. So for whatever reason, this whole running back to the Ravens early has gotten a lot of legs over the last couple of days specifically. There's been a lot of talk about the kid out of LSU, Hilaire. I think he is a great fit in this offense. When you look at his skill set, it's very similar to a Ray Rice type of skill set. He's got a very similar stature. He's got very similar attributes. Would be a good fit in this offense. Problem is we have too many other needs, and running back is not a necessity right now. I understand that the running game is crucial to this offense and to its offensive success, but right now the bigger glaring issues are on the offensive line, the edge rusher. We all know all the holes that we have. Running back is not one. I do think we will have to draft a running back within the next year or two. Mark Ingram can't defy age for too long. Gus Edwards, in my opinion, I don't know if he's ready to be a 3-down type back. He's a very situational type back. He's very good in the role that he's in. I don't know if he's ready for every down back, to be an every down back. But I don't think the Ravens should be wasting draft capital on a running back in the first 2 rounds. Just my take.
Scott?
Yeah, I'm kind of right there along the same lines. I think there's too much of a need at other positions. And not that I said this last night, not that our window is short, right? But we have a solid window with the guys that we have, and we just need to shore up things like the offensive line, wide receivers. We know that there's edge rush, potentially inside linebacker. So you have too many of those other needs, just like Fred said. And to take a guy like him, yes, could he be a high-end talent? He absolutely could, but I think you're wagering your future at that point and not looking, or I'm sorry, you're wagering your present to get you something that's going to be more effective in the future. And I just don't see that happening. I think you can go later. You might be able to pull a Cam Akers who's been bouncing around anywhere between 70 and 120. If you're going to do something like that, but even still, not sure that I want to jump that early.
Yeah, I would say I'm okay with no running back this year. I'll start with that. Do you think Clyde Edwards? I like Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Is he a Saquon Barkley, Ezekiel Elliott, the kid from CMC, Christian McCaffrey? Do you think he is that type of guy? Okay, I agree. So the reason I'm bringing those is there's so many few running backs. Right? You can include Chubb there. They are a staple that you only need that one running back, and you need a guy to just give him a couple snaps off so he can just take a breather and then go in. We in the NFL, most teams have moved away with a group of running backs to extend their careers somewhat, to not pay anybody a lot of money, to have always fresh legs in there. My problem, and this is what I talked with Chips last week, was you bring Clyde, your net effect on the running back side is gonna be, let's give it a win and let's say this a little more. It's not gonna be that much more.
Agreed.
But if you bring an impact player in a position need, your net difference from last year can be big. That's my problem with the running back. That's what the problem. That's why I think we don't need it. If we didn't have Ingram, I would say probably. I'm not even saying definitely. I would say probably, because again, running backs you can find later on in the draft and still be good enough.
Right.
Yeah. If you have a Saquon Barkley, if you have Ezekiel, if you have one of those very rare few bell cows that can do everything, can be there every down, I got you. But that's not the running back we're talking about for us to draft.
To your point, that's exactly why we don't see a whole lot of running backs going in the first round anymore. That's kind of changed over the last few years. You see those elite running backs going in the first round, all the ones that you mentioned. These guys, I do think Helaire would be a great fit in this offense. I don't think he's elite. I do think he'd be a great fit in this offense. But as you said, the amount of snaps that he's going to get, we already have 3 running backs. So if we're going to do that, to have that net effect, then we'd have to get rid of somebody. Who are they getting rid of? Are they getting rid of Edwards? Are they giving up on Hill so early? They're not going to give up on Ingram. They just signed him. So the net effect on the offense, to your point, wouldn't be substantial enough. I love the piece. If we were in a need for a running back, he'd be a great fit. I just don't think it's the right call right now.
And to piggyback off that too, one of the things you mentioned was, if we didn't have Ingram, you'd say probably, right? Mm-hmm. And the reason you're saying probably, and I'm not going to speak for you, but I'm sure you're going to agree, is we've seen Gus Edwards be able to take on the load. And him combined with Justice Hill, which gives you the speed, Gus gives you the power. That combination, I think, can do well. You have Mark Ingram in there. Do you really need that? I don't think so. And I think that kind of goes to your point.
Look for Justice Hill's role to expand this year.
I would agree. And then this is something that I also get a lot on Twitter. We should trade for Leonard Fournette. And I'm like, no. This is the reason why. Leonard Fournette and Gus Edwards are similar runners. And you can say Leonard Fournette is better. I'll give you that. Whatever. Yes, he's better. Again, net effect. What is that net effect? It's not going to be impactful. It's not going to be that much better. Leonard Fournette gets hurt. Leonard Fournette has problems with coaching. I don't want no divas. And Leonard Fournette has become a diva, although Jaguars have a lot of issues. But the other problem that you have with Leonard Fournette, let's say you can get him for 7th. Let's say, just assume that. So I think his cap hit is like $3 million. So that's $3 million. That's close to Mark Ingram. So that's pretty high. He becomes your second most paid running back. At that point, Gus is expandable, or unless you trade him over there to Jacksonville. Next year, he's expensive. So what are you going to do with him? Because next year is his 5th-year option. What are you going to do with him? Right. You're going to re-sign him? I haven't seen Leonard Fournette being this guy that I should have in my team, so I will pass on him. It will be my opinion. But what do you guys think?
I mean, no, I agree with what Scott said earlier. Scott said we have a kind of a small window right now. Realistically, we have a 3-year window to compete with the type of talent that we have, right? And I don't think the net gain that we get for Leonard Fournette would put us over the top. And again, you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. You're having to get rid of a piece, which Gus Edwards is averaging over 5 yards a carry. Like, I think people are shortchanging the impact that Gus Edwards has on this run game. You're not gaining much more with Leonard Fournette. You're not.
Yeah, I mean, you also got to look at the type of system that Leonard Fournette was playing with in the Jags as well, and then the fact that you bring him into the Ravens. If you're calling for that, you think something's broken. I'm telling you right now, I don't think something's broken.
Nothing.
We don't fix what ain't broke.
We just broke the NFL record in rushing yards. Nothing's broken.
Exactly. That's my point. There is nothing to fix. There is no. In all reality, there's no need unless something happens, knock on wood, you're gonna kill me with this. And somebody gets hurt. That's the only way.
Don't you put that on me, Ricky Bobby.
Okay. So, is there any running backs you guys like for us that you can see us drafting? I will start with this. I would say the kid Gibson out of Memphis. Mm-hmm. I like him if he's there maybe later in the draft. The reason I like him, he is essentially a receiver coming out of the backfield. There's something, and he can return. So you can say, Deontay Thomas, thank you, no thank you. Dude, you're going to return. He needs to get more polish as a runner. But when he was as a runner, when he was there, he was in a split backfield similar to what we do with Lamar. So he's used to that concept, and then he has hell of a hands for a running back. That will be the only one. And then at that point, it will be between him and Justice Hill, who's going to get more snaps on a 3rd and long, right? But at worst, you can put him as a returner. But again, I think right now, if I was a betting guy, I would say we are bringing a running back from the undrafted free agency, not a draft pick. But go ahead.
I 100% agree with you. I think if they're going to draft a running back, it's going to be the 5th round pick or the 7th round pick. It's not going to be anything earlier than that. And I do think that if they're going to draft a running back, he better be impactful in the return game. So to your point, I agree 100% with you. We just don't have that explosiveness in the return game that we have in the years past. We haven't had an explosive returner since Jacoby Jones. So it'd be nice to be able to fill that need. There are a couple guys, obviously being a homer, a couple of guys at Maryland that I like. Anthony McFarland, Javon Leake will probably be there as an undrafted guy. He had a huge impact in Maryland's game as far as a returner. So these are some guys to keep an eye on. Gibson would be a good fit. I don't know if he'll be there in the 5th round or not. He might go in the 4th, but he'd be a good fit. I don't know if the Ravens carry 4 backs unless he brings value in special teams.
Yeah, I'm right there too. I think when it comes to Leak, we talked about this too. When it comes to Leak, he's a guy that you're at least taking a flyer on. Local guy when it comes to being a Maryland, playing at Maryland, everything. So we've known him, they've seen him. He's got some explosiveness to him. We've seen that at Maryland, but at the same time, I'm not gonna put all my chips in. I'm not gonna necessarily waste that draft pick for a guy like him. Some people are saying, do it in the 7th round. I'm not, even still, I'm not gonna waste a 7th round pick. I think that's where our cornerback pick is gonna come from because we need to get some depth long term at cornerback. But at the same time, I think we need to at least look at that future because that Ingram's going to wind up falling off here at some point, whether it's due to him just retiring or injury or age, whatever it may be. You need to get some depth there in the future, but you can get away with not doing it this year at all. Even in the undrafted market, I think you can get away with not doing it.
So I will push back a little bit on the corner. It's not that I disagree completely, but look, we have a couple guys behind our big 3. Big 4 if you include Tavon Young, right? They are there to learn, to get more experience, to potentially do some stuff. We have Avery going to his 3rd year. We have Imam Marshall, which I didn't like last year, but he's there, right? The player that you're bringing as a corner in the 7th ain't going to be better than what Imam Marshall was last year. And it's not going to be better than Avery. Avery flashes. He gets beat a lot too, but he has flash. It's a learning process with him. He was a later round pick. I think it was a 4th or 5th round pick.
The 4th.
You would think this is his year to make that step, although he probably won't see the field unless a lot of injuries happen, which we don't want to. But that corner that will you bring, it will be behind those two, in my opinion. I think they might, if the right guy is there. I think safety is more likely than corner. If I was, again, a betting man, I think safety will be more likely than a corner.
For me, listen, I think Scott was trying to hit on a defensive back, not specifically a corner, because we've talked about this in the past. I've always had a theory that I feel like regardless of how deep you are at a position, regardless of how stacked you are at a position, you should always draft a defensive back and you should always be drafting offensive linemen. You constantly got to return and cycle through those players, because right now, we're loaded at defensive back, but that money is eventually going to shift over to the offensive side when these salary new contracts come up for the offense. So some of those pieces aren't going to be here. We don't have a ton of depth at safety. There's some question marks there. Deshaun Elliott, I really like him. We haven't seen a full year out of him, so don't forget about him. But, outside of that, we really don't have any depth behind safety. Anthony Levine, he's that wild card piece that can kind of line up everywhere, but he's not a true safety. So we do need some safety help there if the value is there.
Yep, I agree. Anything else, Scott?
No, I mean, you guys hit on it. I think when I was saying cornerback specifically, I was referencing the comment by DaCosta when he was interviewed probably before the Corona stuff. So it was over a month and a half ago. He was asked, what are your needs? And he specifically made the statement of, we always look to draft a cornerback. So that's what I'm looking at in that sense. And you got to figure, Jimmy Smith is what a 1-year deal, right? So it's not really going to be something that you're looking at long term. You still don't know what's going to happen with Marlon Humphrey if we can't get an extension done. So you have to kind of look at those factors, and that's why I went specifically cornerback. But I agree with you. A defensive back to be able to help. I think I saw somebody in the chat say, we could really use another nickel for depth. I think that makes sense.
Yeah. I cannot see a world without we don't bring Humphrey.
Yeah,
I cannot see us paying Peters after being here for a couple of teams, not him. Yeah, same thing. I cannot see us paying Stanley next year. But anyway, let's move on. We are gonna do a mock draft, my guys. We're gonna do a 7-round mock draft. We've been here for 17 minutes. You guys, be sure to grade what we say. You have fun with this. If you have questions specifically on the draft, let me know, guys. If there's a question there you want to address, let me know so I can pick it. I can pick it and put it on the screen. We're not gonna do trades because there's 3 of us, and I don't want to do a mock draft per. But we're gonna talk about if we would trade at any given point for X player. We'll be talking about that. It's not like we're gonna do pick, and then in 10 minutes we're done. It's gonna be a fun conversation. So, and then before we go, yes, O-line depth is needed. Yes, Marshall Yanda should be replaced. But, and we can discuss this if you guys want to before we start. I think I was mistaken last year thinking Powers was brought to be the left guard. They might have already known that Marshall Yanda was going to go through his last ride, and they might have bring Powers to be learning from Marshall Yanda. And if that is the case, if they think Powers is ready, and the draft will definitely tell you this. How they draft will definitely tell you this. They have Bozeman, and Bozeman progressed through the year. He definitely progressed through the year. He started iffy, and then he quickly progressed. And I don't think he can be moved to a center. You leave him on a left guard. You keep him there. Makari also definitely progressed through the year, right? He has some lapses here and there, but for a undrafted rookie mid-season put into the center, hell of a job. We still have Skura. They may or may not be ready for week 1. And the right guard position is open. The question is, can Makari start center next year? And if he can, and Power is ready, in theory, you have your O-line. And again, my opinion, how they draft, it will tell you how confident they are in that plan, right? Because if they draft an interior O-line early, one of those guys, and I think it will be either Macari or Powers. They don't have faith in it.
Right.
They don't have faith in it. I think Skura right now, they brought him just in case he's ready, just in case if he can play. But if, in my opinion, if they draft a guy like Cesar Ruiz, Skura's coming to be a guard. Because you bring Cesar Ruiz as a center and you say, I have a cheap center for 4, maybe 5 years and could be my plug-in. And you can put him there in week 1. And if he sucks as a center, you always have Skura as a backup. You always have Macari as a backup. But you bring him in, they want as a center. I want to hear your opinions.
I think Macari did an admirable job as far as filling in for Skura when he went down last year. But if they do move him over to guard, that's where he played in college a lot. So he's experienced there. Just haven't seen it yet, how he does there. Same thing with Ben Powers, man. He's a big question mark. He hasn't gotten any playing time really yet. So we don't know what to expect from him. As you said, I think this will tell. The Ravens obviously have a better snapshot of what Ben Powers can do than what we do. But if I'm looking at this, I think our biggest need is offensive line right now because we lost so much depth. I mean, losing Yanda as an anchor on the offensive line is one piece. You lose the versatility. I know you guys weren't big fans of James Hurst, but the versatility that he was able to bring to be able to line up as a situational, fill in wherever you needed him on the offensive line, he could do that. You don't have that anymore. Skura's injury, you don't know what he's going to come, if he's going to come back healthy from that or not. So we need offensive line depth. And if this offense is going to be as successful as it was last year, they need good quality depth, not just depth for the sake of adding depth. They need good quality players. Cesar Ruiz is definitely a guy I've got an eye on in the first round.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think, Sonny, you kind of made the point that I was going to go with, which is because there's so many question marks, you can't pin down who's going to be what. You have to take this draft as that. What is their expectation? Who do they expect to do well? I personally think the fact that they haven't gone a route of saying, all right, Powers is going to go this way, we're going to have Macari be center. They still don't know, right? Because they really don't know what's going to happen. Macari, we saw him there at for what I think it was 4 games or 5 games at center.
He went down against the Rams.
He was there at least like 6 weeks, 7 weeks.
I think 6 or 7. Yeah, because of the playoff game too.
A little bit more than I thought. I thought it was like 4 or 5. But at the same time, I think you got to give guys a chance, and we see that in the NFL a lot. You can get away and be able to look good for a little bit, but if guys start figuring you out, they start watching your snap counts, they're starting to watch your movements, things like that. That's what happens in the trenches down there. Those guys are watching slight movements. How are you positioning your feet? How are you positioning your hands? What is your head doing? What is your shoulders doing? That can start to dictate what you expect the play to be. And we don't know, because Macari hasn't been there enough. I haven't seen the full body of work of him at center. I don't know that's a sustainable model yet. And I think the Ravens know that too. I think it's something that they're probably working on and thinking about, but I think you're spot on with the fact that this draft and what they do in the first 2, maybe 3 rounds, if they go get offensive line help at that point, you immediately know that's exactly where their thought process is.
King actually brought up a good point. He says, I think we're prepared for Yanda retiring by drafting Ben Powers. We'll probably take Cush or Robert Hunt, in my opinion. Those are absolutely 2 guys that we're looking at in the second round, so that if we don't take Cesar Ruiz in the first round, then I do think those are 2 very viable options. Obviously, our buddy Coach, he's very high on Cushenberry. And I do think that he'd be a good fit in this offense. So those are absolutely 2 options to look at in the second round if we don't go O-line in the first round.
Okay, so here, yes, I get to watch without being stuck in a meeting, winning. Especially shout out to Fred and my guy Steve. That's your new name.
Steve! I'm going to start calling you Steve on the show. I love it.
Man, thank you for that, Asmodeus.
Too. Just saying. Just right.
Love it. Asmodeus, you're awesome, man. And here, finally, some O-line talk. Look, let me circle back the whole O-line. I think the Ravens know each of the guys. They probably know Skura, where's he on the recovering. They know, I know they cannot have right now a doctor with him, but because he's in recovery, he is with doctors, and their doctors probably are talking to his doctors. So they know how is he coming along. Yes, we see these videos of him lifting a bunch of weight, and dude, I blew up my knee and I'm just sick. I'm like, this dude is awesome. So
Agreed.
Just if they think Skura can come, let's say in the first quarter of the season, that will relax, in my opinion, that will relax the idea of we need to bring a center or a interior lineman quick. Because at worst, you can bring Macari to be there for the first 4 weeks. And if he can play like last year, that was very formidable. That was fairly good. And then you can have Powers as a right guard. And if you think Macari is better than Powers when Skura's ready, you just kick Power to the depth side, and then you put Macari there. Center is the hardest position. You have to call protections. You have to align everybody. You have to know the snap count better than anybody. You can not effed up when you snap the ball, and as soon as you snap the ball, there's a mammoth of a guy trying to hit you, so you have to put those hands up. So if he can play center, he should be able to play guard. The only big difference between the guard and the center is, can you pull, right? Not every guard can pull. Obviously we didn't see that on Macari, but like you guys said, he played guard in college. So my assumption is he can. Obviously, again, I didn't see it.
Right. Yeah, to your point. I mean, that's why I give so much credit to Macari, because for him to step in, hadn't played center in years, and to have the kind of role that he had and do seamlessly, like to be able to work that well with that offensive line and Lamar, it was great.
Yeah, I love it. This is your new name, man.
Steve.
Asmodeus, don't be sorry. Don't be sorry, man. You made my day. You made my day.
That's great. That will go on for a long time.
He can give me crap. He's happy.
Exactly.
Okay, so I'm just gonna put this comment, but we're gonna do the mock draft, and we're gonna discuss that as we go through the mock. Okay, like I said, guys, make sure you put comments there, and I'm gonna try. I know there's a lot of comments. Thank you for everybody that is here watching. Make sure you hit a thumbs up. Make sure if you haven't followed my two guys here, go give it a like on Twitter and on their pages. Okay, so let's do this thing here.
Make sure if you're going to start this, stop somewhere around 12 or 13, right? Where
I was going to stop at 10. I was going to stop after 11, I guess, after the Clowns pick.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, so we're going to do this thing here.
All the typical names going early, obviously.
Yeah.
Which is what I want. I hate when it goes. Okay, so there's 10. So quick, you got Tua, you get Herbert's still there, so I guess that is different. You had Chase Young, Okuda, Simmons, Wirfs, Tua, Brown, Becton, CJ, and Andrew Thomas. So here's pick 11. I know the Jets are always looking to make more picks. I don't think they want to drop that much more, but all three wide receivers are here. Is this when we start?
Yes, this is where you start picking up the phone and start making calls to those three teams right there, because I'm telling you, if you're trying to get up there and try to trade for one of those top three wide receivers, right, that tier one of wide receivers, this is where the run starts. You could see those three wide receivers go 1, 2, 3 right here in these three picks with the Jets, the Raiders, and the 49ers. Here's the thing, though. The 49ers have made it public a couple days ago that they're shopping their 13th and 31 overall picks right now because they have nothing between rounds 2 and 4, right? So they're trying to gain some capital in the middle rounds, the meat and potatoes of the draft. So that's a very viable trade partner that we've talked about it. I don't think the Ravens move up to 13 unless they're going after two things. Either they're going after that tier one wide receiver, one of those top three, which I'm hoping it's Jerry Jeudy, and I'm hoping his stock is falling because of this injury question mark that they have with him now. If they're going up for one of those top three, or if they're going up after an edge guy like a Chason out of LSU.
Okay. Scott?
I mean, am I trading up? I'm definitely on the phone. I just don't know how much capital I'm willing to give up. I know everybody is sold on the idea of going and getting, another top tier wide receiver, but we've had first round picks not work out before. Some of them with hands issues, and I think the one guy that you would even think about trying to trade up for is the guy that they're actually talking now about him falling, which is Jerry Jeudy. Because of the potential knee injury, there's talks of him falling further back. And I think you got to watch how that shakes out, because you could wind up trading up to try and get him, and in all reality, be giving up way too much. You could wind up getting him at 18 to 20 if he starts really falling, because teams just don't want to take the risk on the injury.
He won't fall that far.
I see Fred checking. No, so Fred said something. He said the top three tier is. Are you talking about Ruggs, CD, and Jury?
Yes, we all kind of assume that that's the top tier wide receivers in this draft.
So Rux is not my top 3. He's not in my top three wide receiver. I'm not as big. I think his best fit, I think he should pray to God that the Eagles or the Vikings pick him, because those are the two places I think he would thrive. I like Judy and Lamb better than Ruggs. I disagree with TDN putting him as the best receiver. But anyway, so I'm going to put it to 15. I'm going to move it to 15 and see what happens here. All 3 wide receivers win, by the way.
Yep.
Now, if this happens, Denver is a team that also likes to trade back to acquire picks. They had 3 thirds. I'm sure they will like another second. We had 2 seconds. Is this a sweet spot to trade for Kevin Chason?
Yes, that's the only other guy, in my opinion, if I'm moving up this high, that I'm even considering taking at this point. That's the only person I'm willing to give up draft capital, because at this point at 15, you're probably talking about giving up your 28, one of your seconds and one of your thirds to be able to move up to 15 to be able to get a Chason. And I'm telling you, if the Ravens aren't planning on signing Matt Judon long term, they've got to have a replacement, and Chason would come in and be an immediate replacement for Judon.
It will be your first, your 55th, and your early 4th.
Early 4th, I'm definitely doing that. If it's not even giving up a third, I'm definitely making that move.
That's with the chart. That's roughly the amount of points. But Scott, will you make that trade up to get Chase on here?
I think there's definitely something to be said with Jason. The one thing that I think you have to kind of think about is there might be some guys that can make just as big as an impact, like an Epinesa, that you would be able to get a little bit later. So it's a heavy hit on the draft capital, but there's value there. He does present a lot of value immediately. But at the same time, I'm so weary with edge rushers. We saw it with Jalen Ferguson last year, where he comes in, we're expecting the guy that broke Terrell Suggs' record to play off the charts, and we just really didn't see him play at that high level. And I think it was the game speed that threw him off. It's going to take some time for him to get used to. This guy, I think, has the ability to be a little bit more plug and play than Ferguson was. So I'm definitely considering it. But if you're saying it's a 4th, I'm probably leaning more of going ahead and saying, yeah, take it.
It's a 2nd and 4th. Now, I would say the difference for Fergie. Fergie wasn't as athletic as freakishly as Chason. The other thing, I remember doing my scout on Fergie, and the problem with Fergie he had one move, pass rusher move, and then the other thing is, at this point, I still cannot tell you if he's going to be an adequate outside linebacker or if he's better suited to be kicked in as a 3-4 DN. I think his best position would have been 4-3 defensive end. Obviously, that didn't happen, or that's not going to happen with us. So it's either he becomes more of an outside linebacker, and Judon had to learn this after he came here, or he's going to be a situational pass rusher. And if that's the case, he needs to get better in the pass rushing side. Kevin Chason can be an outside linebacker. He can drop back. He can cover somebody on the flat. He's athletic enough. I like him a lot. A 2nd and a 4th, I'll be considering. Although you guys here in the channel know that I'm big on trading back. Anyway,
one thing I want to make a comment on really quick. I know we're not making any trades or anything like this, but the thing that you need to realize, right, is the Ravens have 9 draft picks in this draft. We don't have a need for 9 players on this roster. You don't see teams draft players unless they're going to make their roster, right? We have 9. This is the one year where we actually have some capital to be able to move up versus moving back. So I think if we're going to see us actually get aggressive, this is a year to do that. We've seen in the past so far that Eric DeCosta is willing to be aggressive and go after his guy. I think this is a prime year because even if we do trade a 2nd and we do trade a 3rd, it doesn't take us completely out of those rounds. We still have another pick in the 2nd. We still have another pick in the 3rd. I do think that trading up for a guy, if they have their guy and he's there, is very viable and could very well happen this year.
Yeah, and let me address something here. I'm going to let this run. So, Mr. Chat, I agree. I said last year after we draft Fergie that we will be lucky if he had like 3 sacks. If he had 3 sacks, that would have been a great year for him. because my expectations for Fergie were low. If anything, my expectations for Bowser coming in were very high because he was coming in year 3. I was expecting him to make that big jump. Fergie for me was learn, and hopefully this year, after a year under his belt, he would have been. Hopefully, he will be more ready, and time will tell.
Yeah, Ferguson, I was kind of high when I had high expectations for him. Probably unrealistic, but as you said, he came in as a very raw talent. Literally had the one bull rush. That was about it. So hopefully, he makes that big jump from year 1 to year 2.
Okay, so here linebacker Queens went out, Mims is out, Chason went to the boys, Jordan Love is out, which doesn't matter. AJ Epinesa, one of my favorite, he's out. Cesar Ruiz is out. Yetur Grossmato. Now it's interesting that there's a tackle here, right? And if this happens, you are getting phone calls from New York and from the Chargers, in my opinion, especially those two teams. New York needs desperately lineman help. And the Chargers in this draft, and I think it will be the case, they went and got Tua as a quarterback, and they also need lineman help. If any of the tackles somehow make it to us, that phone line is gonna get hot, and in my opinion, you trade back. But what is your take?
No, I 100% agree. If this is the way it shakes out, you got Willis sitting there. You got McKinney. McKinney's one of the best safeties in this draft. Both of those guys are going to get phone calls. So you definitely start looking at potentially trading back, building up some more capital that maybe you could even move up again later in this draft to the second round. Now you'd have 3 or 4 picks in the second round. So you definitely got to start looking at that with that kind of talent still sitting there.
Okay. How about you, Scott?
That was my immediate thought as well. If you've got those guys on the board at that point, you have to be taking every phone call, and somebody is willing to give that up. And if the guys that you're wanting are still there, I think it definitely makes sense. I know that we have who is it from? If you're looking at edge, you got Braun that's still on there. It's really hard to see on my computer. That would be back there.
You do.
So you've got some of these guys that could still potentially be there. And if you're trading, maybe you're trading back 8-9 picks, and you can still get value out of it and still get that additional second round and probably even a fourth rounder out of it as well. So I think that it definitely makes sense to be fielding those phone calls at that point. I probably would take a trade. Somebody's going to be willing to do that with those guys on the board.
So I was watching the 2017 mock draft last night, and the 49ers move up from 34th to 31st, so they only moved 3 spots, and that got a 4th. Just for context, a high 4th. So
the other thing you gotta think about here too, though, right, is are the Ravens going to pay Ronnie Stanley? That's a big chunk of money.
They better pay. They
better pay him.
Exactly. The problem is, it is a big chunk of money, but tell me how easy it is to find a left tackle.
No, you're absolutely right. 100% agree. They need to pay him. It's just when you start listening to some of the talk out there, right, and they're talking about Tunzel getting $20+ million, right? Where does that put Ronnie Stanley? Ronnie Stanley's going to be in that same ballpark. They don't have the cap space right now. They're going to have to start shifting some money around. So I'm just saying, you look at it as, all right, if we don't see the ability to be able to sign Stanley, then maybe we take Willis here as the potential replacement for him. But I just don't see that happen. I do see the Ravens eventually signing Stanley.
Kind of to your point, we got to start thinking about long-term cap space and what you're able to do. Just earlier, Sonny, you said you don't see a situation in which we don't sign Marlon Humphrey. There's another signing that's going to cost you a lot of money, right? So you're talking between Stanley and Humphrey, you're talking a good deal of money. You're going to have to let one go over the other. There's a serious opportunity there. I think Fred hit the nail on the head that this could be where you put somebody behind him and take that ability to go into the future.
I think you can bring, in my opinion, you can bring them both, because you're thinking about Earl Thomas is here for at least one more year. After that, question if he's back. You have our guy Campbell here for 2 years, but Big Baby, after this year, you either restructure his deal, he might not be back. So there's a lot of money also coming off the books around, and because we're not paying the quarterback much right for now. We still have 3 years and not paying him much. I think you bring them both, and because they're young right now. The big thing is that also tells you need to prepare with D linemen in the near future, because all your D linemen, your starting D linemen, are gonna be out of this team in the next 2 years, in my opinion.
Right.
Okay, so because you guys are the guests and the guys here have seen me pick a bunch of stuff a bunch of time, I'll let you pick a pick 28 by the people that are here. With the players that are here, who will you pick?
Well, Kenneth Murray's on the board. Obviously, he fills an immediate need at inside linebacker. I know there's a lot of question marks about Murray. Is he worth a 28th pick or not? But for me, he does fit what we need as far as a 3-down linebacker. I know he does have some shortcomings in coverage, but he's great on the blitz. He's great sideline to sideline speed. So that's a piece that I'm looking at. Scott, where's your mind at?
I think I would go right with you there. I think you hit the nail on the head with it. I don't know that I can make
Wills is too hard to pass up just because you don't find a number 1 offensive tackle like that at number 28, but I just don't see that this draft actually shaking out that way. So for me, I think I'm going to end up taking Kenneth Murray there. If we're not making any trades, you know me, I told you I want to trade back at this point, but if we're not making any trades and we're making a pick, I'm looking at Kenneth Murray.
Yeah, I'd go Murray as well. I don't think it makes sense that he would even be there at this point in the draft.
Okay, so we're gonna go Kenneth Murray. I'm gonna pause this draft also around pick 41. Yeah, pick 41 and see and readdress who do we have here. Okay, so 2 tackles still there. We don't need tackle. I mean, as this draft is folding down, the wide receivers are still there. Your second tier wide receivers are still there. You have Blacklock, interior D lineman, and Marlon Davidson, a guy that I absolutely love. If we're talking about interior O-line, I don't know if Cushenberry went. It looks like Cushenberry has not left yet. Zach Bond is gone. Lewis is gone. In my opinion, at this point, I wouldn't be making to trade up. Even if you like the second tier, until one of those second tier goes, and then you can be like, okay, if I want one of these receivers, trade up. Thoughts?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. At this point, the way the draft is shaken, I'm not making anything to trade up there. I don't see anybody worth it.
No.
How about you?
Not right now. If you go another 4 picks and like you said, Sonny, if you go another 4, maybe 5 picks, and we see that there's a wide receiver that's come off the board. Actually, KJ Hamler just came off the board at 42. Jags.
Could care less about KJ Hamler. He's got problems with hands. I'm not drafting a wide receiver with hand problems.
He's just from Penn State. That's why you don't like him.
Don't like guys that can't catch.
This is the guy that if he's there 55, I'll take him. But okay, so let me move to like 50th to the Bears, because the Bears need more picks. There will definitely be a team that might be looking to trade back. So in here, 3 receivers still out there. The second tier receivers. Here's the running back that everybody loves. There's a corner. If you guys want that corner, I still think you don't trade up in this scenario at all. But I want to hear your thoughts.
So if it's me, I'm looking at that group of 3 wide receivers right there. I'm not as big on Chenault as some people are. I know like some people like his versatility and whatnot. There's just a lot of question marks with him that I don't like. I do like Pittman and I do like Higgins. I think they're great X receivers that would fit well in this offense and fit well with Lamar. So those are 2 guys that I'm looking at, and Cushenberry sitting there. We do have a pick at 55 and 60. I'm hoping that we can accomplish either Higgins and Pittman with that first pick, and then Cushenberry with that second pick. That's what I'm looking at right now.
Okay.
Yes, I mean, we're on the same page. We've talked about Pittman I don't know how many times, Fred, and how much you like him. And I think he'll probably be, of the first 2, he'll probably be the one to go. The question mark just becomes, do you wind up, if he goes now or to Dallas, do you wind up trading up to try to make sure that you can lock up T. Higgins? Because if Pittman goes, I within a pick or 2, I think Higgins is gone. So I think you got to pay attention to what happens there. I really like the fact that Cushenberry's still there as well, as you mentioned, but I really think we can lock up both of those at the same time. So if one goes, you got to trade up to get the other one.
So I don't like Laviska Shenault either, but I think he will be drafted also maybe before the other 2. And this is a position also, if you're looking to get Lloyd Cushenberry, also you might be trading up, but let's just make it all the way to 55 and see what happens. Jeremy Shin, Clyde went out. That's a great pick for. Look, all three
We got our
here.
Pick of the litter.
I'll take it.
Who you want?
I'm taking Pittman all day long.
Yeah.
So not Cushenberry, but
Not
Pittman.
Cushenberry there. I'm taking, I'll take the chances on Cushenberry falling. I like Pittman. It's a guy that I've been after for a while now.
Okay, LaVisca went after
And there it
Cushenberry.
went. God damn it.
Higgins. That's fine. I mean, that means. I mean, if you see this falling out, one of the three would have made it. If you get Cushenberry, you think. Although the Rams might take one of the because if they didn't take it, I don't know. But the reality is, it's going to be hard for. I think if the board fails like that, and there's two that you love, you can pick 65, and you can definitely call Miami and say, "Can I move up to make sure I can get the other one?" Right? I can see that. That's what the Denver Broncos did last year. When they got Locke, they got the tackle first, the guy from Kent State or Kansas State. What is that guy's name? I forgot. Anyway, he is their left guard right now. And then they went and traded up and got the other guy. And you're only trading up 4 picks. You might get away with trading, I don't know. Maybe your 7th is enough. Maybe you have to give them your 5th. If you trade it back and you accrue to 6 at some point, maybe you're 6. But yeah. If the board falls, those two are there at 55. I can see us getting the top wide receiver, or maybe you take Cushenberry and let's say the Higgins and Pittman are equal for you evaluation wise. Then you take Cushenberry and let whenever the first one goes, you make the call, trade up, and get the second.
I don't see either one of those guys lasting between 55 and 60, though. I think Pittman and Higgins will both be gone long before that.
Okay. Raquan Davis will trade back. Okay. So here, let me see. It's pick 60th. Who would you like to pick in here?
So we just took wide receiver. I've been high on Peoples-Jones just because of the explosiveness that he's been able to show. But I know we don't need another wide receiver at this point. So to me, I think this is where I go get some linebacker help with, Willie Gay Jr. He out of Michigan State. I think he provides a lot of depth there. It continues the depth that we've had. He also gives you the youthfulness there. So I think here I would say Willie Gay.
I don't know. For me, I'm looking at we got a couple of really good interior defensive linemen there, and Matabuke and Davis. I like that. Willie Gay, I do like him, but I think you can find a similar player later in this draft that I don't think we need to waste a pick on Gay at this point there. Plus, we just took Kenneth Murray with the first pick, so we don't really have the need for that. Hennessy is another good interior offensive lineman, and we've all been talking about how much we need offensive line help, and we haven't been able to get this. And we don't have another pick until 92. So we have 32 picks before we have to wait. The interior offensive line depth drops significantly over the next 32 picks. Hennessy's a good piece there, and I think he adds depth. If it's me, I'm making the pick there for Hennessy.
I'll bow. Go ahead.
Hennessy? Okay. I will say if we don't trade up and try to get these two, for example, based on this board, in this case scenario, you go and trade back. Yes. I think you trade back to early 3rd and see who you can get. I like Willie Gay. I also like Logan Wilson a lot. I
like Logan Wilson a lot too, and I'm hoping that he's there at 92.
He's one of my favorite. Aquara would have been another guy that I might have taken there with 60. So
yeah, I like Aquara. I didn't even see him on there.
Aquara. I don't know. I still debating how much we need that interior O-line in the first 3 rounds, but I get the point because of Yanda left. So anyway, here's the running backs. No, we're not taking running backs. Well, hopefully not. But here, players, if you want the tight end, there's Bryce Hopkins there. Brian Edwards is still there. Logan Wilson is there. Van Jefferson. So now we address linebacker, we address O-line, we address wide receiver. We haven't addressed nothing in the defensive lineman. No interior D lineman, no edge lineman. Who would you want to take?
Can we see who's available as far as edge?
Yeah, of course. So we had Kareem from Notre Dame, Anai, a guy that I like a lot,
I like him too.
from Utah. I love how he played in the Senior Bowl. and we usually take a guy from the Senior Bowl. Alex Hicksmith from Charlotte. A lot of people like him. I'm in the fence with him. Another guy, but this is for later, or who knows, Afernini Jennings. A lot of people like him. I like Dara Tuska. I don't know if you know who he is. I like him from North Dakota State. So those are some of the edges. Any other positions you want to see?
I'm pretty sold on Bradley Anai. I don't think he'll be there at 106. So that's a guy that I'm looking at there. That's who I would go. Go to interior defensive line and just see who's there. Fotu's good. I like him a lot, but I do think he might be there at 106. So if it's me, if I'm making the call, I'm taking an eye there.
Scott, what do you think?
I'm surprised you went an eye there, Fred, just because I know you've been high on Alex Highsmith and that he could fall later to us. So I'm a little surprised you went there, but he is the better of the two at this point. So I think I would definitely go edge rush. Let's address it now. This is where you have, a spot. A lot of these guys are going in the range of I said before, some of these guys were going 70 to 120. This is that range where you're seeing that now. So I really think let's go ahead and go an eye on this one, as much as I'm surprised you didn't want Highsmith later.
So, guys, one thing, let me pause here for a moment, but one thing, don't forget, live streaming here Friday, day 2 of the draft, all these picks. Both of my guys here, the BSers will be here, Coach will be here, Joe Nuvo will be here, What's the B Word 52 will be here. So, I mean, there's going to be a lot of us, the YouTubers here. So come join us. We're going to, from first pick of the second round to the last pick of the third, this stream will be live. So come join us. Yeah. Okay. Here's pick 106. Alex Smith went, by the way. Mr. Scott BLSB. Mr. Steve. Let me say Mr. Steve. He went off. Thaddeus Moss. I know a lot of people here like him. Brian Edwards went off. A lot of people like him too. Akers, Michael O went out. Logan Wilson is out. So who's the pick here? What is the type of player you're wanting in your third round?
So ultimately, I think the Ravens are going to end up taking 2 wide receivers in this draft. I don't know where it shakes out. I think they've got a really, really good cluster of wide receivers to pick between rounds 2 and 4. We already took one guy in Pittman, another guy that I've been very high on since day one, since the Senior Bowl, Van Jefferson. I think he's the second best route runner in the draft. He's a guy that I'm looking at there, but I'm also thinking in the back of my mind, I want a wide receiver that might be able to impact the return game. I don't know if Van Jefferson can impact the return game. A guy that might, that was probably still available and could probably pick in the 5th round would be Bowden out of Kentucky, if he's still around.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, so that's a guy that I'm looking at. He's that gadget type of player that we can use in a bunch of different formats, and I think he fits this offense and the creativity behind Greg Roman well. So maybe I'm not looking at wide receiver. Scott, where are you at with this?
I mean, if you're going to go wide receiver, I mean, personally, I know I like Van Jefferson, but I think your point with he doesn't provide you a lot with the run game goes there, goes right in hand. But one guy that is on the board at this point is guy that I'm surprised you didn't say, because he's an Ohio State guy, and KJ Hill, because this guy, he's got good footwork, and that's something you really could utilize out of the run or out of the return game. Somebody that can use that and leverage getting around guys and finding the gap. That's something that is definitely doable. I think I want to go and say, I think I would say KJ Hill here.
I'll let you guys debate that one. I personally wouldn't take any based on taking Pittman. I wanted somebody that is a little bit more speedy. Bowden maybe later in the draft, sure. KJ Hill, I like him. It all depends who we take first for me to address the second one. Although I have argued that maybe we finish with 3 wide receivers in this draft. Especially the 7th round pick, you can take a wide receiver or the corner, or a safety / corner or secondary. But anyway, I can see the point for both KJ Hill. I know Van Jefferson, a lot of people like him. I like him. My question with him is always production. I don't see the production when he was in Ole Miss. I didn't see the production when he was in Florida. So anyway, you guys pick.
And then the other thing that you got to debate here is what we talked about earlier. You do have Antonio Gibson sitting there. Do the Ravens take a running back, right? And we talked about the versatility that he has, right? So if the Ravens are going to take a running back, that's a pretty enticing piece to still be there at pick 106. But like we've said, I think the Ravens have bigger needs. Man, I know Van Jefferson and Pittman are similar, but Van Jefferson's a better route runner. Man, I'll side with Scott on this one. I'll take KJ Hill just because of the ability in the return game.
Ohio State, bring OSU, not Maryland. Hey, they're winners. They know how to win over there until it's the big game, then they choke. Anyway, so we haven't talked about tight end at all.
No.
Okay.
I'm not real big on the tight end position in this draft. I don't really think that, unless you're taking one kind of early, like a Thaddeus Moss or anything, I don't think there's anybody in this draft that really appeals to me, unless you're going to get somebody in the 5th or 7th round, which I think we're creeping up on that now. Are we in the 4th still? Yeah, 120.
Yeah. No, that last one was the last on the 3rd. The only reason here I'm showing tight end, this dude I like. I don't know if you guys seen him, Josiah DeGuara.
I have not.
Dude can block. Dude can catch. He's from Cincinnati. He is I would call it a little bit a more athletic Boyle. Really good hands. He can leak out of so he's a better, in my opinion, catcher. The problem is he ain't gonna give you some rack. He ain't gonna give you a run after the catch. But he can block, so you can bring him there and the 2 tight end sets, and he can leak and catch the ball. I think that is a tight end that we can potentially bring. Not necessarily 129, but in some point. So anyway, here are we in pick 129, the first of the 4th. There's your boy McFadden. There's Bowden sitting there.
Fotu is my guy. I don't even need the time to waste on this. I mean, we got to pick in another 5 picks, but Fotu, he feels the need for interior defensive line.
I'll take it.
You take Fotu? Okay. The reason why I wouldn't take in KJ Hill, one of my favorite receivers is still here, which is Duvernay. I like him a lot too. Duvernay. I would love me some Duvernay. So I'll be excited if we can bring him here in the 4th or 5th round. Anyway, so we're back at it. I don't know if this is when you want to address running back. I don't know if this is when you want to address tight end or what position. I don't know.
Let's go back to tight end and see if that guy's available. You were talking about. You had me sold on him.
DeGuara, he is
146.
Go check him out.
Yeah, I'll have to look him up. But I'll take SCG's counsel here, and I'm going DeGuara.
Go ahead.
I would say Michael Gibson. I think it was the person that gave me the DeGuara name, and I look it up. I've been looking too many people up because we have time because of the quarantine. And dude, I was impressed. Blocking, catchability. I like him. And you're talking about you bringing him late in the draft. This is not an early pick, so obviously he ain't perfect, but I think he can contribute to this team.
Wow, and Duvernay's still there at round 5.
Yes, he is.
Wow.
And Prochet, I know a lot of people like Prochet.
Yeah.
I know, and Gandy Golden, I don't know if he's here still. I don't see him. But anyway, so here we address a lot of positions. Fotu, although it's an interior lineman position, essentially my problem with Fotu, I forgot to mention this, is Fotu is going to battle Mac from last year, right? They're both big boys, nose tackles. You keep one of the two. I think Mac last year, basically they wanted to redshirt him last year because he wasn't ready. As we talk about Powers being groomed by Yanda, I think they brought Mac to be ready in case of our boy Pierce leaving, which I think they were preparing for him to leave. But who knows? I might be wrong. Anyway, in here, what will be the pick? This is your 5th round, and you don't pick until the last pick of the 7th round.
Yeah, this is where I'm starting to look at some of those like extra guys, some of the guys that maybe we're adding some depth to, maybe that explosive running back that might be there, that the DB that we talked about that might be there. Anthony Jennings, he's a guy that a lot of people are high on, but we've already taken an edge rusher. Do we take 2 edge rushers in this draft? I don't know, Scott, where is your mind at with this?
So I guess for me, this is where, we've talked about this before on the show multiple times. I think we saw that we made the 3 tight end set work last year. You really don't have that right now. And
we just took it. We just took a tight end last round.
Oh, did you? I wasn't even paying attention.
Yeah.
Sorry. I got a work email. I'm technically still working.
That's all right.
All right. So
can you sort it by safety? See who's
Sure.
available in safety?
It's your
Blackman's there. Yeah, Antoine Brooks, he's there. All right.
So who are you thinking, Fred? Sorry.
Can you go to corner?
CB.
Okay.
Lamar Jackson.
Corner. Yeah. Other than the name, he doesn't appeal to me. Man. There's not a ton of value here. Go to running back. Just let's see who's available. Running back. Pirine. Man, I hate being a homer. I hate being a homer. I don't think Antoine Brooks is going to be there in the 7th round because we don't have a 6th round pick, right? We go a long time between the 5th and the 7th. I don't think you're going to find a whole ton of options. There's a guy that I have my eye on in the 7th round that has some local ties too, so probably have another homer pick there. But I like Antoine Brooks here. I think, again, I told you, safety depth is important. Antoine Brooks showed that on a shitty Maryland team, he could still shine. He played in a lot of roles. They moved him into linebacker at times. He can be a similar player to Anthony Levine.
Yeah, I'll take that. I think we talked about safety previously, so I think it makes sense to go ahead and go there.
I would have gone up for Nene Jennings, and then I would address something else. But I understand the appealing of taking a secondary person here or a position player. So, by the way, if you want to see the picks so far, we got Murray. So we have some time. Murray, Pittman, Hennessy, Anai, KJ Hill, Fodu, DeGuara, and Anthony Brooks. So, give me thumbs up, thumbs down. Give me grades. This is the BSers pick. It's hard to pick on the spots, my guys. It's not easy. So obviously when you're in your household comfy, nobody's watching you, it's easy. I will say that for sure when I do my live mock drafts with you guys, especially when you're not picking every pick. And this is how it happens, though. You have to react to what other people do.
I mean, again, this was picking on the fly. This was us making absolutely no trades when we wanted to make trades. The draft did not fall the way we wanted it to. This is not where we normally would have picked. If this was us making decisions, we definitely would have made some moves. But hey, I think it's worked out pretty good so far.
Yeah, I think it's worked out pretty good. I think you just put it up there, Bruno, saying pretty damn good draft. I think it looks good for what it is. I think we hit the things that we need to. But at the same time, it's one of those things that we would never see. I don't think we'll ever see the draft board fall this way. That's the only downfall to some of these drafts.
Yeah. All right. So my other homer pick here, it's a guy who's got local ties, Chris Orr. I think, we did draft, obviously, Kenneth Murray, but from a depth perspective, this guy gives you – he's played at a Big Ten school. He was very productive at Wisconsin. Obviously, having the pedigree of Orr being his brother, he's going to be a good fit in this defense.
I'll take it.
Yeah, I already took it. I assumed you're going to agree. So here's some grades: B-, B+. You have an A. Look at that, man. That's successful.
Hey, considering we didn't have any chances to move around and getting those type of grades, I'm good with it.
Yeah, man. Nice steal at the end. I'll say B. I would say you guys did great. Look, here's the picks. Let's recap this. Kenneth Murray, pick 28. Michael Pittman, 55th. Matt Hennessy, interior lineman from Temple. Bradley and a guy that I will say that I like a lot what I've seen from him. KJ Hill, Fotu. Then you got Josiah DeGuara, another guy that I like a lot, especially there. Anthony Brooks, bringing a Maryland Terp. And then you finish with Chris Orr. So, and then here's two more grades. And then here's a comment say, we're taking Higgins over Pittman.
Yeah, I mean, that's 1A, 1B. You could go one way or the other. I've just been so high on Pittman, and I truthfully think Higgins is going to be gone long before 55. I think Higgins potentially will go in the first round. I think we're going to see 5, 6, maybe even 7 wide receivers potentially go in the first round.
Let me say
what
this.
Happens.
Yeah,
I agree. But let me say this. I think this is just me. I don't know. I have a hunch that I think Higgins is gonna be a better college player. That he is gonna be a NFL player. In reverse for Pittman, I think Pittman is gonna be a better pro than he was a college player.
Agreed.
It's just me. It's just me. I could be completely wrong. That's just what I think.
Think of the quarterbacks that they've had throw into each other, right? I mean, the guy at Clemson, I can't think of his name right now, but he's going to be
Lawrence. Yep.
Lawrence. He's going to be a number 1 overall pick when he comes out. And USC hasn't really had a good quarterback in a long time.
Yeah, I don't even know. USC has fallen out of the map.
Right.
So anyway, big thank you to my guys here for Birdland BS. Again, go check out their channel, their videos up there on Twitter, Facebook. You can find it everywhere. YouTube. Go subscribe to whatever your favorite app is, and you can watch it that way. Their handles are down in the description below, but obviously also on the screen. They're gonna be here Friday. They're gonna be watching the second day. Obviously, we'll review the first round as we are waiting for the picks to come. We're gonna be talking about whoever the Ravens pick at number 1, or what I think it might happen. We're gonna be one of the first picking in the second round because we're gonna be trading back. But who knows? We'll see. Anyway, big shout out, big thank you to Fred and Steve here. So,
Steve,
final words for you guys.
Nah, man, appreciate you having us on. For those that are looking for something to watch locally for the first round, we are partnering with our guys at Big Play and doing the first round stream as well. So make sure you follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. We'll be there live for the first round. Build your own draft war room, right? Have Birdland up on one screen, have ESPN up on another, have ABC on another. Come join us, man. It'll be a good time.
Yeah, and don't forget too, you can always check out. We have our podcast. We have the audio version as well. So if you're moving around, once things, hopefully we get out of quarantine here at some point, I'm hoping. But if you get out in your travels, you can also check out the audio version of the podcast. Google, Spotify, Apple, iTunes, you name it, we're there. Podbean. So go check us out in all those places.
Okay, and then don't forget tonight, I'm in Joe Newell's channel for the NF podcast. So I'll see you guys tonight. Again, thank you very much. See you tomorrow. Peace out, my guys.
See you guys.
See ya.